Yeah.
There we go. We are now live. So, welcome everybody. You're tuning into the Daughters of the Moon, and today's episode is something special. We're going live and warmly welcome back Theresa, the Tarot Lady Reed, author of the book of Astrological Returns, your complete guide to everyday life cycle from Sun to Pluto. And we're also excited to welcome Yesbelt Fernandez to the podcast as well, author of New Moon Life Design, Manifest the Life You Want Using Lunar Cycles, Tarot, and Astrology. Theresa, it's great to have you back with us. And Yesbelt, we're excited that you can join in as well. I think this will be really fun, and we will get started. So, oh yeah, you have her book.
I
Yeah.
sure do. This is such a good book. And I was so excited when Yesbelt signed the contract. And I just thought she had such an amazing perspective about lunar cycles, tarot, astrology, and manifestation. And the book is something that anybody, whether you're new to, tarot or astrology or manifestation work, I think it's really a winner. And just it's very different. And I think her method it stands out.
Agreed. I
Thanks,
haven't got the
Theresa.
book to read it yet, but I'm working on it.
Well,
The
now is a
cover
good
is
time
really
to
nice.
start because
Yeah.
we have the Aries New Moon starting a cycle on the 17th, and there are 6 planets, or is it 7, in Aries right now. So all of the planets, the original influencers, are telling us now's the time. And also, the moon just got a photo shoot through NASA.
Yes.
Yeah. That
And
was
it
pretty
feels so
cool.
The
so
marketing
big.
for this is happening.
Yes. And also, for manifestation work, I always find anytime you want to start something new, the new moon in Aries is the way to go. It is perfect for launching a new business, starting anything new that you want to begin. So it's a great moon. And I love also, Yesbelt, when you mentioned all these other planets lined up in Aries, I mean, that's really powerful. It is a big kapow of cosmic energy.
Yes. And it's something that we've never seen before because we've
Yeah.
never, well, I don't think anyone here has experienced Neptune in Aries.
Mm-mm.
So
No,
that's
that'll
new.
Neptune's doesn't go back to a sign till about 165 years.
Uh,
So, planets, some planets will, go back to the sign more frequently. Your sun every year goes back around your birthday to the sign it was in. When you were born, the moon changes signs every 2.5 days. Mercury's changing signs almost every month, same with Venus. Mars takes a little bit longer. Jupiter will be back in the Jupiter changes signs every year, so it takes about 12 years before Jupiter gets back into a sign because it'll stay in a sign for a whole year. Saturn even longer. I mean, so um, all these planets in Aries, we have never seen this in our lifetime, and so it's pretty epic.
yes, it is. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it makes me happy because we're going to be launching our new website this month. So it sounds like it's a good month to be doing that.
Perfect.
Yes, it's all
And
about new beginnings.
yeah, and Teresa, your book that's coming up is about the returns. So it's kind of like
Yep.
taps into this as well, right?
Yep, my book on the astrological returns is going to be covering all these cycles. I mean, really, what we're talking about is cycles. Whether we're talking about the moon cycles for manifestation, there are always cycles happening. And tarot readers and astrologers, what we're good at is spotting patterns. And returns are fascinating because when a planet returns into the place it was at the time of your birth, it signifies like, boom, this is a new cycle. And sometimes that cycle is short, like again, a lunar return that gives you like a something to think about for the next 30 days. But if you do something like a Saturn return, not only do you go through that Saturn return for about 2.5 years, but it is setting the tone for the next 27 years of your life. It's super interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, that is very exciting. I think I am actually going into my next Saturn return right around now-ish. I'm
What's your
50,
Saturn in?
56. I'm not even sure.
Okay. Well, it will be either in Aries or Taurus if you're 56.
Okay.
And So yeah, your Saturn then will be either in Aries or Taurus. Now it's in Aries right now for about 2 years. My little sister's going through her second Saturn return. And so depending on where it is for you, I'd have to look at the birth date. That is going to determine when it's hitting you. And also what you want to look at in the Saturn return. Let's just use this as an example right now. The first thing you look at is your natal chart. Where's Saturn? That's your life lesson period. So, for example, my Saturn sits in the fifth house. That means I have lessons about pleasure and creativity and about parenting and about love and commitment. That's going to be big themes that show up in my life again and again. And that's where I need to do a lot of work. I need to learn how to be maybe a responsible parent or how to be a disciplined artist. These are things I'm always going to be working on. But when the Saturn return comes along, you're going to be working through those issues. But the Saturn return chart is ultimately going to be showing you, oh, but there's another thing to pay attention to. So my Saturn return chart for my second Saturn return ended up with Saturn in my seventh house, making all kinds of funky aspects. And the seventh house is about relationships. And it's been really interesting because I've had these huge boundary things that creeped up during my second Saturn return. And there were some relationships that had to come to an end. I needed closure on. I need to think really deeply about friendship and groups and all of that. So I went through also some kind of a major cleansing process, and I came out of it feeling really good about my parenting abilities, that fifth house, and my creativity, but also having a whole new understanding about which relationships are now appropriate in my life. And in this stage of my life, in this cycle, who gets in? Who deserves to be in my orbit? Who do I need to have strict boundaries with? These are really, really incredible lessons to learn. And the wonderful thing, again, when we pay attention to things like astrology and tarot, we're not asleep at the wheel. We are able to see these cycles and the things we need to work on so that we can have our best lives, or at least we can heal where we need to heal, which may not necessarily guarantee a magical life, but when we do our healing work, we certainly then grow. And that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely. Well, I'll have to look into that to see where it's at, and then I'll know more.
Yes, yes.
We'll have to
So-
figure it out before we leave. That's what we
Yeah.
should do.
Yeah.
when like what is happening right now, like in the skies from your guys' perspective for people to be aware of?
Right
What do
now,
you
there
think,
are,
Yesbelt?
I think the biggest thing that's happening is that all of the planets are in Aries. So I'm looking at a chart for April 17th, so not today. So in a few days, we'll have Neptune, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, Chiron, the Sun and Moon, all in Aries. And they're all basically in that one sign, and they're asking you to focus on the energy of that sign. And I like to think of it in the lens of the motto of the sign. So Aries is I am. So I think it's a great time to declare like who you are. That was what I wrote my most recent Substack about. And like the reason why it came up is because my employer asked me to either remove all of my information for my esoteric things, including being an author, or to like lean into my financial services. So I decided to declare that I am the author of New Moon Life Design and delete financial services because I am developing New Moon Life Design. That's really what I'm talking about right now. That's really what I find really important to me right now. And I'm not developing my career in financial services, even though, interestingly enough, I did end up getting a promotion that's going to start very soon. But I'm leaning into being an author. So I think the fact that all of the planets were in that sign at this time is kind of like cosmically aligned for it to, for me to make that declaration.
That's such a powerful statement too, Yesbelt, because so often we do a lot of negative self-talk about ourselves. I think a lot of us can probably agree to that. That we'll say, oh, I'm so stupid, or oh, I'm this, I'm that. And when we really keep repeating things like that, that does sink into some degree. But when we are able to powerfully declare, I am a writer, I am an author, I am a podcaster, I'm a fabulous person, I'm a wonderful cook, I am a great friend. These are things too, we're putting that vibration out there. And what a great time to be doing it. Because like you said, we have all these planets that are lined up in Aries. So any statements and intentions that we're putting out there, I mean, it's going to stick. And by the way, the best time to set those intentions is right at that new moon. And Yesbelt, you said it's the 17th. Do you know what time it's at?
It's at
Off the top of your head?
It's at 27 degrees, and it's happening at 7:53 a.m.
Okay.
Eastern
So
time.
so for people who are listening, if you are up at that time, what a great time to set an intention about yourself, about who you are in the world, or who you want to be in the world. I mean, when you're stating those statements, we are moving towards that energy. And I just keep thinking about all those planets lined up in Aries, really giving that moon a lot of extra support.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited. I'm going to be up at that time.
I'm always up at that time, so believe me, I will be setting my intentions, and that I think is such an important thing to do. And that's one of the things that Yesbelt covers in her book is about setting those intentions and doing the other supportive stuff to really help those intentions come in strong and root down and develop. So you've got some great techniques, Yesbelt.
Yeah, I think like I wrote a whole book about it because it's a lot more than setting the intention. To me, that's like the expansive part where you can like dream, you can you can imagine like the life that you want. And then at the waxing moon, the first quarter waxing moon, which is a square, that's when the cycle is asking you to take action on the intention that you set. So I usually like to make a list of 10 intentions, and then I'll pick one and make that one into a SMART goal. And then a week later at the full moon, I'll reflect and celebrate my wins. And I'll also look at the things like my misses, like what didn't I do? And then I'll do a forgiveness practice. And then at the waning moon, I reflect on the cycle, and I release what I no longer need, and then I begin the process of resetting to start it all over again at the next new moon.
I love that. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting about this new moon in Aries, not that I want to go on and on about it. You know, at the time that the new moon happens, Mercury and Neptune are conjunct. They're almost exact, dropped by 1 degree. And so Mercury has a lot to think about, a lot to say about our thinking, and Neptune is about our dreams. And so together, this combination says that we can really dream of the possibilities. Again, we can take those messages down into our core and really envision what it's going to look like when we step into these new roles. And that's a really important thing to do too. You know, we can put those intentions out there, but let's visualize, what does that look like? I mean, what does that look like? And I think sitting and visualizing also really helps to attract that energy. Now, no doubt Mars is close to Mercury, a little bit further away. So Mars can also power things up and provide willpower to make any change. One thing I would say about this moon in Aries with Mars being involved, if you want to make a life change, let's say you want to quit drinking, or let's say you want to get back on your feet after some kind of a disastrous decision, it's never too late. And this Aries, all this Aries energy, and with Mars right on the heels of Mercury, can really provide the muscle to make that change. And also, Saturn isn't too far behind. Saturn is right close to Mars. So Saturn brings discipline. I mean, boy, what a great day to change your habits. I'm going to say that out loud here. If you want to change your habits, this is the day. Now, if you do an astrological chart for this new moon in Aries, all of those Aries planets are landing in the 12th house. What is the 12th house all about? It is about introspection. It is about therapy. It is about old wounds. It is about going into those places that are, you know, really hard to face. But when we go in there and really make that vow to change, powerful things can happen. If I was somebody who had a really bad habit, well, I do have a sugar habit, come to think of it. Maybe I should do that. Maybe that's what I need to focus on, y'all. But this would be the perfect day. Like, if I want to give up smoking, yeah, let's get on it. All this stuff is lining up. It feels incredible.
Yeah, I think so. Theresa,
Cool.
I'm curious to know, which house system do you use? Do you use Placidus
I
or
use
Pole Star?
Placidus. What do you
Okay.
use?
I prefer Placidus, but if someone doesn't know tarot, or I mean astrology, then I always begin with whole sign.
Yeah, because it's simpler. I started with wholesale. Oh, for people who are listening to what Yesbelt and I are talking
I was
about, I
like,
want to make
I
sure
don't know.
I want to make sure we're not talking astrobabble. So there are different ways of laying out the astrology chart, different systems. And if you want to hear two astrologers argue, what you got to do is ask us which house system is the best. Right now, whole signs are really in because there's been this huge surge of people getting back into traditional and Hellenistic techniques. And people like Chris Brennan, who put out the astrology podcast, have really popularized it. Now, I started with whole signs and then I switched to Placidus because I found that Placidus, for me, made more sense and was more accurate. It's all going to come down to the astrologer's skills and their beliefs. All of these different systems can work. Do I mess around with whole signs sometimes? Yes. But ultimately, I find for me, this is for me, that is the most accurate thing. And I got to tell you, too, y'all, astrologers and tarot people get really set in their ways. And it's really kind of crazy. Like you want to find tarot readers argue? You ask us, do you do reversals? Do we need to do reversals? You will get somebody with their knickers and a twist over it because there's somebody, oh, no, you should never do that. Oh, whole signs, houses are bad. And it's all a matter of opinion. Every so often I encounter somebody who wants to get on my back because they don't like the fact I read reversals or that I use Placidus. And I'm like, find what works for you. I mean, I know
Hmm.
playing football doesn't work for me. I'm not built for it. So therefore, I don't play football. I read books, whatever works.
That's
I
the truth.
completely I completely agree with that because in my book, A New Moon Life Design, I decided to write like a general meaning for each of the cards, and then I put down what's the upward spiral and the downward spiral version. So if you pull this card, and then the idea is that you, as the designer of your life, will decide, are you on an upward spiral right now, or are you on a downward spiral? And you'll know because once you read the description, you'll feel it and you'll be like, oh, I need to change my downward spiral and go up. So I decided to do that. I thought that would be like a different perspective as opposed to seeing it as like negative. Yeah, because
Right.
I just don't think it's negative. I think sometimes we are just getting lost, like we're not going in the right direction.
Mhm.
And remember, we also have free will. We have choices of how we show up. So, for example, Kim and Barb, what sign are you? What's
I'm
your
a Virgo.
signs?
I'm a Virgo.
I'm a Capricorn.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, I have a big thing for Virgos, so I'm going to start by saying that. My husband's a Virgo, my dad was a Virgo, my brother's a Virgo. I love my accountant's a Virgo. So Virgos, when they choose to go to the high vibe, they are meticulous. They are incredibly intelligent. They love to learn. They like to analyze things. They like to go down rabbit holes. They're people that you can count on. They're usually incredibly reliable. They have a good deal of common sense. Most of the Virgos I know are very, very no nonsense. That's some of the great qualities. But what are the negative qualities that you can choose to go to? Virgos can get hung up on perfectionism to the point where they procrastinate, they get nothing done, or where they sit around and judge other people. And they got to be careful about that because people don't want to feel like they are under some kind of a microscope being judged. That's the negative. You have a choice. You can do one or another. Now, for Capricorns, when they are functioning as their high vibe, that's the person that you want to have by your side when you want to get stuff done. Capricorn's going to come in, take over, take charge, and they're going to be able to get it done right. by the way, a Capricorn and Virgo team, you two together are like a double threat. You're going to get stuff done. But Capricorns, they're natural bosses, and they are people that are also very similar to Virgo. They're very reliable. If they say they're going to do something, they do it. They like taking command. They like fixing situations. They're really incredibly good at organizing things. That doesn't always mean they're going to be clean freaks, but something has its place. They know how to put things where it belongs. But when Capricorn goes into the negative side, they become control freaks. And then they think they know what's best for everybody, which maybe they don't. So that could be one of the low vibration things, or they can get materialistic, like, chasing those goals, not because, oh, I really want to do this goal, but, oh, I want to, be top dog, So those are things that we have to choose. We always have a choice. It's the same when you get a tarot reading. We don't just look at the tarot reading and says, oh, look, you got the Five of Wands. Well, it looks like you're going to be having a lot of conflicts. No, we can look at it and say, okay, there's a lot going on right now. It's time for you to gird your loins, get in there, and do the best you can do. So we have a choice. Do we look at this as just competition, or do we look at it as an opportunity to get in there and give it our best shot? Everything, no matter how we look at it, it depends on what we decide to do with the energy. And it's the same with all this Aries stuff in the air. Here's the negative side of all this Aries stuff. The negative side is it's bringing out aggression, anger, narcissism, that whole me first thing. We're seeing a lot of that on the world stage, by the way, these type of topics. That is a negative side of it. So probably this next week, we're going to see some people acting really stupid and doing really aggressive things. Those are the people who are tuning into this energy, and they're choosing, rather than to see it as an opportunity to become the best version of yourself, to change your habits. Instead, they're going to look at it as a power grab. So pay attention how people are using that this week. It's going to be a very interesting week in the world at large.
I would think, yeah, the world at large has been interesting lately anyway, even more so coming up here. It's good to know. It's good to keep on the. Have you felt the energy lately? Like, did we just go through something just recently where I was just like tired and my energy levels were down?
What do you think about that, Yesbelt? I mean, I've got allergies, so I've been tired, so that's that doesn't count. But what do you think, Yesbelt?
I think that the Libra full moon was really intense. First, I felt that it was really intense. There was so much going on, like a lot to balance. So I think, and that happened about 2 weeks ago. So maybe
Okay.
that's what you're talking about. Sometimes I find that full moons are more uplifting, but this one, it was tiring, I guess. It like amped everything up for some reason. I don't know why.
It
Thanks, that's-
did.
Balance.
Yeah. That's
Theresa,
good
why?
to know, because
Why did that
I
happen?
felt the energy. Yeah, the energy was so different this last couple of weeks, and a lot of things happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really, really intense full moon. I forgot about that. You're right. So you're right. There was some energy that was really wacky. And I mean, for myself, if I'm speaking personally, I had a relationship, a very long-term relationship, come to a close a couple of months ago. But right around that full moon, I had all these revelations about this person that suddenly I was like, oh my God, why was I not seeing this? And it was like the full moon illuminated, remember it's in Libra, a relationship that was not balanced. So I'm still working on clearing the energy from this situation. But right around that full moon, I was just feeling really icky. And then when I found out these revelations, I'm like, oh my God, I needed to see this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, but I do too.
Yeah. And I would say you nailed the Capricorn thing for me. I was like, oh yeah, that's me.
My sister's a Capricorn. I know Capricorns well.
Yeah. we can be a little controlling.
Yeah, well, I will say one thing with her. She is organized. You can you go to her house, you can lick off the floor. I mean, she is super, super clean freak, really organized. She's an accountant, and she's really into everything being just so.
Yes. Yeah. that makes sense. That
Listen,
definitely.
I got a little bit of that control freak in me too. It just manifests very differently than the way hers manifests. But it's
Yes.
interesting because we both have that little side to us. It's just a Capricorn is way more organized than Gemini control freak.
Yeah, I suppose that would be true, right?
Well, the one thing to think about are astrology signs. We think of astrology signs like Baskin Robbins. There's so many different flavors, even of a sun sign. And when you look at somebody's full on astrological chart, you're seeing that, everybody is unique. We all have very different flavors. I mean, I'm a Gemini, but I have 3 planets in Virgo. I also have a Scorpio moon. That changes the whole nature of the Gemini beast. I still have a couple planets in Gemini that really, really shine through, and you can tell I'm a Gemini if you spend enough time with me. But you might meet somebody else who's a Gemini, and they manifest that energy very, very differently. One of my closest friends is a Gemini. Actually, her mother's the one who introduced me to astrology, and we're very different. We have the same sense of humor. We have the same interest in a million different things, which is very Gemini. But she tends to lean towards being a little bit more, she's more emotional. Tends to lean more towards sadness. And I'm rarely in a bad mood. I'm usually like kind of happy go lucky, do my own thing. I can brood and get dark, but I'm rarely, rarely like down and depressed. Why? We have different moons and we have other different placements in our chart that gives us an incredibly different flavor. So, will you see similarities when we're together? Yes, but you also see some real differences in temperament. How we go about our ambitions, how we think. There's definitely some differences.
Hmm. What sign
Yeah,
are you, Yesbelt?
I'm a Leo.
Mhm.
I'm a super Leo. I have I'm looking at my chart here. Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, and the Sun all in Leo. So it's quite a bit of Leo going on. But regarding like Virgo, I have the North Node and Saturn in Virgo, which I think is what helps me create all of these like systems. Like I like to make
Yep.
spreadsheets and like
So Virgo.
charts. Like this is like how I have fun. I like to like make things like that, like getting organized and seeing all of the data in a beautiful way is something that I really like to do. And I think that it manifests in my Leo way. But like thinking about the signs, I know someone who is a Pisces, but then I'm just like, you're not a Pisces. So I finally got the chart and they have a stellium in Aquarius in the 6th house. And to me, that's more what they are. They're like a forward thinker. They're like coming up with innovative ways of doing things. They're always doing things different than others. So to me, they're more of an Aquarius than a Pisces. So I think when like knowing your chart, it just gives you so much more information than just knowing what's your sun sign.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I will say this about Yesbelt. I have been at her house. She's very organized, which is very Virgo, but also she's got this really classy taste, which is very Leo. So, I mean, when you go, there's like, oh my God, this house is so beautiful and it's so organized. It really reflects her astrology chart. I will say that. Whereas I'm kind of like organized chaos here. So, needless to say, Yesbelt, if you ever come here, you're going to be like, what the hell?
No, I try not to judge. Like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm working on that. Or if anything, I'll be like, oh, can I help you move this?
Right? I've done that.
I,
Can I please
listen,
help
I'm
you
sure
clean your closet? Because it's like, ah.
I'll invite you over here for that Capricorn purge here one day. My
Okay.
biggest problem is books. I always say my house looks like a library and a church threw up in it. And I'm not lying. I mean, there are so many books, and just when I get rid of a bunch, like publishers will send me some. And I'm a Gemini. I love books, of course. I mean, I'm a writer. I love to read. So I'll take it and I'll read it. And I actually read these books. And then there's a lot that I use for reference. So there's a lot of books here. There's a lot of books.
Yes, I also love books. I actually,
God.
when we moved into this smaller house, I had to get rid of some, and then there was some I was just like, I can't.
No.
Yeah.
We'll have to
Yes.
store them or something because I can't. And then I keep getting more books, and yeah, I'm the same. It's
Can I
like,
ask you this? Do
I
you feel sometimes when you're in a bookstore, it's like your happy place? You go there and it's like, I may not even buy anything, but just being around it and the smell of books.
yeah.
I mean,
yes,
that's, mm,
That's
100%.
fair.
Oh, so 100% on that. And recently I went to one of my favorite like esoteric bookstores, and it was a very happy day when I found my book there.
yay!
Yay! That's
Nice.
Oh
so
my God.
exciting. And we're excited because your podcast is airing on April 21st, where we get to talk all about your book. So whoever's watching this now or in the replay, make sure you tune in on the 21st so you can hear all about the book. So
Yes, and
it
get
was
the
a great
book. And
conference.
don't forget, if you buy a copy of the book, folks who are listening, you want to make sure that you leave an honest review on Amazon, Goodreads, Barnes and Noble, so people can know what the book is all about and get an idea if it's the right book for them. And I also tell everybody, make sure you ask your library to carry the books because oftentimes people go to libraries looking for metaphysical books and the sections are small. Libraries will carry metaphysical books if you ask for them. Please do that.
Yes, I will definitely do that. Because I think I did try to get it from the library and they didn't have it. So I was like, oh, all right, well, I'll buy it.
Got to request it. Ask your library, can you carry this book, that book? They will get it. It is one of the best things you can do for the library to help them to beef up their metaphysical sections because a lot of times they don't know. They know about things like Little Women and, you know, the dictionaries and books like Stephen King stuff, but they're not going to think about something like New Moon Life Design because a lot of the people who work at libraries, they're very much into like literature and things like that. And so that is not going to be where their expertise lies. Even sometimes when you go to bookstores, their metaphysical sections are tiny. We have to, if we're interested in this stuff, we have to call and say, hey, did you get that new book by Yesbelt Fernandez in? It's New Moon Life Design. I'm very interested in it. And that's why also leaving reviews on like Amazon, even if you don't like shopping at Amazon, leaving the review there is very important. So people, first of all, it tells Amazon people are actually interested in this stuff. Let me
Right.
bump this up. But it also helps people to decide whether or not, okay, I want a new metaphysical book. This is the one. These are things that I think a lot of us don't think about. But, you know, metaphysical stuff is super popular, but why is it not in the library? And why are the bookstore sections so small despite it's popular? Because we're not calling and requesting it. We need to do that.
What's
It's
good
True
to know?
enough.
also
Yeah,
Little
true
fun
enough.
fact.
I think Goodreads is a good place to leave reviews and to find new books.
Yep.
It's like Instagram for books.
Although I will say over at Goodreads, the reviewers are a little meaner.
Oh, really?
I love Goodreads, but I always, as soon as I'm done reading a book, I always leave a review because I think, one, people want to know, like, did you like it? Like, I just read a book and I struggled really, really hard through it. Even then, I didn't leave a terrible review. I just was like, for me, it was a bit wordy, right?
But
And I
that's
have
honest. That's not mean. That's honest.
no, yeah.
Yeah.
But
It
and
was
That's
interesting,
helpful.
that book. Yeah. It was an adventurous type book, but we're in a book club. So I know which one she's talking about. But I think it was an adventurous type book, but wasn't one that caught everybody's interest. It was a little difficult to get through, but it was a good book.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I
That's
try to be
honest.
kind. But you try, and I think people should be honest, but I think you can be honest and be kind at the same time.
Yeah.
What you always want to think about when you're leaving a review is not going in there and saying, wow, does this suck? That never helps anybody. But instead saying, this is what I found about the book that was compelling, and this is what I found about the book that didn't really sit for me. That can be a very honest, helpful thing. I mean, because there are books that I get, or even like tarot decks that I'll sometimes get from a publisher, and I will always be like, okay, well, here's what I like about the deck. And I'll do these live streams where, I'll show it and I'll be like, but this is what I don't really dig about it. So, I mean, I opened a deck recently and I'm not going to say which deck it is. And the art was fine. It was well crafted. It had a great box, but they had some words on the cards that I thought would be very triggering for some people. And it would be a deck that I would never use with just a regular client for that reason. And that's an honest, helpful critique because I'm not saying, oh my God, it's awful. It's like this card is saying words on here that could be incredibly disturbing if it's not with the right audience.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
True.
No, and that's good. And so do you think more people should tap into like their tarot and their astrology and things like that when they're creating these projects and look at timing even to like release different things? I mean, it so just happens that our website is lining up nicely, but is that something that people should look at?
Yeah, in my book, I talk about all of the 78 tarot cards, and I've connected each one to its astrological correspondent. So, like that, when you're learning the cards, you're also learning the astrology, and then you have two layers of information because the archetype is more connected to the zodiac sign. So you have like this bigger vocabulary to work with when you're using the cards. And it's also connected to a time of the year or a seasonal time. So it does give you a big, like an extra layer of information.
nice.
And
That's
you
very
also
nice.
mentioned too about, the full moon for completing things and letting things go, and new moons for starting things too. So that's timing things as well.
Mhm. Well, and I think that's helpful for people because, like, if you're trying to do it and you want to use the planets like they should be,
Mhm.
this is very helpful to do. And I know we've talked, Teresa, and you've talked about the Farmer's Almanac and things
Mhm.
like that, and just how helpful that is as well. So I think between Yesbelt's book and, you know, your book and the Farmer's Almanac and things like that, it really does lay it out that we can start creating really good time frames for ourselves to do things.
Yeah.
It's about living an intentional life. I mean,
Mhm.
really, ultimately. And I think one thing that women can all agree is we, because we have go through our monthly cycle. I don't anymore for a long time. But by going through our cycles, and we have to learn to live by the rhythm of that. And so women naturally know that things happen again in cycles, and our biology is in cycles, and the moon controls women's cycles. The moon controls the tides of the ocean. And so we are very naturally attuned with that. But even if you are not going through your cycle or whatnot, when you start moving with the astrological cycles, and whether it's the lunar ones or the bigger planets that are happening on the outside, we do live better lives because it's like this. This is one of the things I say. It's like you're going with the current. If you're not going with the current, you're swimming upstream. And salmon swim upstream. They go up there to mate, but then they die. I don't want that. I'm going to go with the flow, and so that's why working with planetary energy is so incredibly powerful. When I started really paying attention to things like the moon and, for daily things, but also the bigger picture with the slower moving planets, my life got a lot better. My life got a lot better. I stopped struggling. It's like, oh, okay, you got this going on right now. Well, here's the best way to work with that. Boom. And it's just, again, it doesn't mean life's going to be perfect. That's not what it's about. But it's really about recognizing the energy and how you're going to show up and how you're going to deal with it, and recognizing where opportunity might be happening. So now you can move towards that. Recognizing where your skills are so you're not wasting your energy doing stuff you shouldn't really be doing.
Right.
That's all what this stuff is about. Being aware, being awake at the wheel. The one thing we don't want to do is sleepwalk through life, which a lot of people do. And that's why they come to astrologers and tarot readers then, because they're like, well, I don't know how I got in this position in my life. It's because you're not awake at the wheel and you're choosing things based on what maybe somebody else says you should be doing or what society says. And it's not really aligned with you. And so let's get conscious, let's get awake, and let's feel the flow around us and start making some darn better decisions.
Yeah, I
Very
agree.
much so.
Yeah, because I think any little bit of help, I have to study mine a little bit more, I think, because it intrigues me to know that I could be optimizing my life, so to speak.
Yes.
If I look at my chart and, I dig into some of these things, and I loved how Yesbelt was really about like um, creating that ritual where you were talking about, like going from the new moon into the full moon, and then just following and asking yourself the questions and reflecting on that. I loved that and I've actually started kind of practicing that, because it's like, okay, where am I at and what am I doing? Because why wouldn't we want to optimize our lives?
We should look at your chart right now.
My
Can you
chart.
get your chart?
Let's
So,
do it.
like
Okay.
one thing about that is kind of like with those prompts, as you look for your chart, they're always the same, and the thing that changes is you and what the
Okay.
focus area is. So you're always changing, even though it's the same prompt. You're always doing something different, and you're focusing on something on a different area of life. And the moon is always in the sky.
Yes. So if you want us to look at our chart, just email me your information. Don't put it here online because you
Okay.
don't want people getting your personal information. I'm a real paranoid freak about that. Just
Yeah.
email to me and I'll whip up your chart in like a minute flat, and we will give you a little miniature interpretation about your Saturn return and about what you need to do right now to succeed, so people can see how the astrology works. I would
Beautiful.
love to do that. It'll be
Thank you.
fun.
And we
Thank
could
you.
see which house Aries is for her, because that'll show you
Yes.
which area of life to focus on.
Right.
Yes. Oh my God. We're going to do it right now.
It's
So,
so
Yesbelt, do you have
exciting.
your astrology software ready too, so you can look at the same time?
Yeah, let me look. Let me do it right now.
Okay. As soon as I get that information from you, I'm going to put it up there.
Did you put it? Yep.
Yep, I'm just sending it now.
Yep. And I'm just not going to show it out publicly because I like keeping people's birth dates and where they're born private, because you never know. Some people are really weird. And I don't like that. Okay, so I'm going to pop that in. So, Yesbel, can you see it? I just got the information. Why not?
Um, in the chat or in email?
In email.
Okay, let me check. There it is.
Yep. And software now. So, Kim, back in the day, Kim and Barb, we had to do everything by hand. Oh my
Yeah.
God. It
I
was
used to do
so
it back
hard.
when.
Okay,
I
you know
did it
what
but
it's all
way back
about.
when.
Okay.
Can
So
you
you
put
know what
mine in
it's
there, Kimmy? I don't know how to do that.
What's that?
Put my
Actually, I
birth
don't
chart in
have
there.
it. Theresa, can you forward it to me?
I don't
hold
know
on.
when you were born, Mom.
1951, 2:30 in
Well,
the afternoon. Yeah, 2:30 a.m.
Yes, Bill, I'm going to text you the information because that'll be
Perfect.
really fast. And I already got the chart up because I am fast like that. All right, so I'm giving you Kim's information first. And Kim, I've got your chart in front of my face right now. And you got a moon in Scorpio just like me. Yeah. So that is why you have all that interest in these metaphysical things. And that also elevates a little bit of that Capricorn wanting to be in control things. So you are absolutely just started your second Saturn return because your Saturn is in Aries. Yesbelt, this is going to be a very loaded chart. And so I want to talk about the Saturn return really, really briefly. Your Saturn is in your sixth house, which has a lot to do with your daily routines, your health, your well-being, and being of service. And so when Saturn sits in that house, there's going to be themes about finding meaningful work, taking charge at work, being of service, finding a way to be in charge, but also making sure that everybody else, that you're serving people at the same time. Saturn in Aries sometimes can be me, 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 and you're here to learn about the concept of we when we're in the working environment. Now, I'm going to quickly, before I look at your that big Aries thing going on, I'm going to quickly look up your Saturn return. You're at a 19 degrees, and where are you right now? Are you still in your hometown or are you somewhere else?
no, I'm somewhere else.
Okay, where are you now? That doesn't matter.
I'm in New Norway, Alberta.
Okay. New Norway. I love Canada. One day I will get there.
Come visit.
again.
Yes,
Come visit
please
us.
do.
All right, so I'm going to do Saturn return, and I want to look at your Saturn return for the last time it hits. Okay, so for your Saturn return, not only will there be themes about work and health and service and your daily routines, but Saturn is also going to be forming this really incredibly powerful conjunction with Mercury in your third house. So that means that you have an opportunity for the next 27 years to really work on your thinking, changing your thinking, changing your mind, or learning new things. There might be a big focus on going back to school or just learning all the things you're deeply interested in. It's a time of mental discipline. You might have a book in you too, Kim. So not only are there, again, those life lessons about work and service and health and well-being, but for your second Saturn return, all those things are going to come up, but also lessons about how you're using your mind, how you're thinking, and how you might be transforming yourself through your thoughts. Now, when I look at the transit chart, so that whole big Aries stellium is going to be going through. I want to do the transits though for that
Six.
exact time.
Well, if we look at her birth chart with the transits, isn't it sixth house? Aries? Aries at
Well,
27 or no?
that's where she's got her Saturn. But when we look at the transits that are happening at the time, we're going to just say with the new moon, you'll have the Sun and Chiron both in your sixth house. So there's that emphasis again on work, routines, your health, and your well being. And Saturn isn't quite conjunct with her natal Saturn yet. So even though Saturn return has begun, this is like the beginning part of the lessons. The major lesson is going to be coming in about more like about a year and a half, 2 years is when we really got to be taking care of yourself, being responsible with your work, how you're taking care of your daily routines, all of that. But right now, the big stellium is divided between the fifth house and the sixth house. So the fifth house also means that this big stellium is going to be having a lot to say about your creativity, if you have children, your relationships with the children, for love, how you're expressing romance and relationships. So there could be a lot of things about that that are coming up. The moon is actually that new moon is going to be in the sixth house. So if you're thinking about with Aries, turning, like maybe getting a new job or putting up a new website or or maybe yes, or maybe you're thinking about, okay, I really want to stop drinking coffee. This would be such a good new moon for that.
Okay.
In a nutshell.
Awesome.
What else do you see?
Well, I'm seeing that it's the sun and moon in the sixth house of work, routines, and health. So those are the three things that this new moon is highlighting for you. And then interestingly, the other planets that are in Aries are in your fifth house of fun.
I like fun.
So they're highlighting like two areas, like fun, creativity, and also like romantic relationships and children. But the new moon itself is happening in your sixth house of work, routine, and health.
That makes sense.
And I'm whipping up Barb's chart right now.
You
It's
said
what double
AM,
check.
right, Mom?
Yes, I am.
Okay. That's what I put.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
like,
Thanks, honey.
All right, so I'm gonna whip up the transit chart and let's find out what's going on with that. So your stellium is so interesting because I'll talk about the new moon in a second, but right around that new moon, well, first of all, that Aries stellium is hitting your ninth house and your 10th house. So what is the ninth house about? It's about your spirituality. It is also associated with travel, long distance travels, learning. Both of you have some learning stuff that's going to be very, very important to you right now. And that doesn't surprise me. You're both hosting this podcast, and you both strike me as people who are very curious about the world around you. And I love that, by the way. Curiosity is such a great, great thing. So there's going to be an emphasis on your spiritual practices, an emphasis on learning about spirituality. Things in that level might be accelerating for you, which could be, very, very exciting. Also, Saturn is sitting right on top of your midheaven. And so it's just moving off of that. And what does that mean? It means that, Saturn loves being in the 10th house. This is actually a good time for your career, for really building your legacy. And what you want to think about with this new moon, what is my legacy? When I leave this world, what is the legacy that I'm going to leave behind? What body of work am I creating now that's going to heal and help others and have a lasting impact? So, Barb, that is what I would be focusing on with this new moon coming up and this big Aries stellium. Keep on learning, keep on doing that spiritual stuff, all the mystical things. That's your jam. But also now, this is really a good period for setting the stage for the legacy that you're going to leave behind. It's so
That's
cool.
that's very interesting because that's been on my mind lately about that. So thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank
What do
you.
you
That's
see?
amazing.
Well,
What do
I
you
didn't get
see,
this part,
Yesbelt?
but if the new moon is on the 10th house, I like to
Hmm.
think of that as a place where you like build up like what you're recognized for, what you're known for, and also like where you focus like your ambitious energy. So whatever ambition you have for yourself, it's a good time to set those intentions there and then watch it grow throughout the year, because you could just build on it. If that's where your Aries is, that's where you're going to begin this new cycle, and you could keep
Okay.
building on it through all of the different seasons. So you're starting with I am in the 10th house, like what are you ambitious about? And then in Taurus you build upon that when it goes into the 11th house in community, like I have. So like, what does your community look like? Like, what do you have? For me, the Aries new moon is happening in my 11th house of community, which I think it's about like building a community around this work that I'm so interested in. So
Right.
how about for you, Theresa? You're a Gemini rising, right? No,
Thank
you're
No,
you.
not. You're
I'm a Libra rising, and I'm a late Libra rising. So for me, what's happening with I'm going to be in the same boat as Kim. It's going through my sixth house, and so I'm going to have everything loaded into that sixth house because my sixth house, I almost can't say it, starts at 1 degree. So all that whole conga line of Aries planets is hanging out in that sixth house. So it is all. Maybe I should quit sugar, you guys. Maybe
because
this
it's
is my
how
sign from the gods now that I'm here hanging out with y'all. But I'm going to have, well, not all of the planets because my descendant is 24 Aries. So the new moon, actually, that's interesting. Okay, let me rephrase that. Most of the planets will be in my sixth house, but that new moon is actually going to land in my seventh house. And that's about relationships. And again, that is also my big lesson from my second Saturn return. And so I am doing some clearing work around some negative energy and really working on my life lesson, which is boundaries. I'm just lousy with boundaries.
Teresa,
Yep,
how
been
do you
there.
do clearing work? What's your clearing work look like?
Well, right now I'm doing like a lot of cord cutting,
Okay.
but this particular individual that I'm releasing has very, very sticky tentacles. So it's taking some time to do that cord cutting. So it's just a lot of cord cutting, just a lot of cleansing work, cleansing the environment, releasing things that remind me of that person. It's that type of work. So I'm hoping maybe that new moon means that energy will be completely gone by
Right.
then.
Yeah,
And then
me too.
I'm going to set intentions around my boundaries. That's what I'm going to do. Right now,
Yeah.
I'm making that statement here for y'all to hear. I am, I have strong boundaries. That's going to be my intention that I set going forward.
That's very important. It is.
And by the
Now
way,
is a
Barb, you
perfect
also have a moon in
time.
Scorpio. I just have to add that. You, me, and Kim. Yesbelt, what's your moon in?
Cancer at 29
Okay.
degrees.
Oh, an anoretic degree. So we all have these water moons. That's where we're drawn to psychic stuff.
That makes sense.
That does make sense.
Because I've always been intrigued and I love learning. So yeah, that's very helpful what you both shared with me there,
Oh
because
my
that
God,
gives me
yes.
some things that I can do to make intentions and things that I got to look at releasing, especially with my health and things like that. And it's funny because I'm gearing up in the next 5 years. I've set to retire in 5 years from my real job to move into this more spiritual job. So that was great what you guys told me. So made me
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Job. Go ahead.
Oh, so what I was gonna say is that like the time that we're in right now, like this week, is the perfect time for release. That's what the
Yes.
moon is asking us to do is to release the whatever it is that we don't want to carry into the new season and into is actually the start of the astrological new year. So one of the things that I like to do is to like write down what I don't want and then
Mm.
burn in a fireproof place.
Thanks for
We're all
saying
going to
that.
do that today.
Yeah, so be safe and like burn it before the new moon. Like any time before the new moon would be good. And then when you start setting your intentions at the new moon, you would have symbolically released the things that you don't want.
Beautiful.
I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going
Me
to be
too.
doing some
Me too.
massive letting go work. I'm going to write down what I don't want.
Yes.
And I'm going to really reflect on what I need to do my part to change this boundary thing now that I remember that it's in the seventh house.
Yeah.
I got to, my thing is I'm a sucker for sob stories. It gets me every time. I don't know if you all are like that too, but if someone comes to me with a sob story, I'm like right away, all my defenses go down. I got to stop that.
I'm the
Yeah.
complete opposite.
Really?
Yeah. Are
Yeah,
you?
I feel like I can't listen to your sob story.
I wish
I'm
I
just
need to
like,
borrow that.
I
I'm
feel
getting
like
better
if
at it.
like to be fair, if someone has like a real issue and I've never heard it and it's not really a sob story, it's just what's happening, then I will try to help them get through it. But if it's a sob story, I don't have time for it.
What I
I'm a
found with
sucker.
What I found with me is I just did some stuff on boundaries just last year. And what I found with it now with me is I listen to how my body feels. And
Mm.
so if somebody's telling me a story and all of a sudden I feel anxious and things like that, I can't move away from it fast enough now. And I'm recognizing
Really?
that it's making me feel anxious, upset, sick, or whatever, even a headache. That I recognize that now and go, okay, I'm not supposed to be here for this. And then I try to get away from it as fast as I can. And it really helps on keeping me on a more level keel. Because I was like you, I fell into everybody's story. I was so naive all the time. It was crazy. And it got me into trouble lots of times too. But
Mhm.
now that I'm working with the boundaries better, it's, yeah, pay attention to your feelings with it because it'll
You
really
know,
tell you.
that makes a lot of sense. And what's really interesting is I'm extremely street smart. I'm very business smart.
Same.
With dudes, I'm really, really super sharp on men. But the place I get into trouble is with friends and feeling sorry for them. And that every single time I've got to practice what you're doing. And I know what you're talking about. I will feel it in my body like, oh, I'm really uncomfortable. But then I think, am I being judgy? Am I being
Yeah.
a judgmental person? Don't be judgy. Help this person. And then I talk myself into these things. My God, Barb, you got to help me.
I just know that because I'm
Yesbelt.
well, I know because I'm a Virgo too, I go through that, right? Because I don't want to be too much perfectionist towards people and things like that. So I try to watch that part of myself as well. But I find if I go with my feelings now, if I'm feeling really nervous when I'm around somebody and they're telling me a
Yeah,
story, I was like, okay, I'm not supposed to believe this. I just need to walk away from it because obviously it's not for me. It's making me feel ill.
I need to do this.
Yes.
This is going to be what I'm working out with the new moon. Y'all are giving me a breakthrough. You're giving me a breakthrough right
And you
here.
Me too. I'm listening and I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm releasing. And I'm not going to put because last time I did a fire ceremony, I just have to share this. So I did a fire ceremony and I had a little cauldron and I was burning paper in it, but I had it, well, too much paper in it. So it actually started a fire. And then I had to run out and get like something because it's metal. So I had to run out and get something so that I could dump it into a bigger one. And there was smoke all over my room. I could barely breathe. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just about burnt my house down. That's a little too releasing for me.
Not a good thing.
Yeah, let's not do that. I'm not a fan of burning my house down. So
No, so definitely what Yesbelt said there in a
Yes,
very safe,
fireproof.
fireproof.
You could also get like a big pot, like your biggest pot that you have if you're gonna do it inside. I like to do it over my stove because I have a very sensitive fire alarm.
Ah,
So try that.
I will try that. 'Cause, yeah, that was a little scary. And then I'm like trying to get it out, and I'm like, I'm lucky it didn't catch on anything. Oh goodness, I did laugh.
and you know,
but-
also with bringing up this burning ceremony, I mean, Aries is a fire sign.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, mm-hmm.
That's
And
true.
Mars, and it's ruled by Mars, and in tarot, it's the tower. So it's
Mhm.
coming in to like burn things down.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I think that people will definitely do well to try some of these things and do this releasing, especially if they catch this before that. I'm definitely doing it. So
True.
either tonight or tomorrow, one of the two.
I'm on it now. I'm a woman obsessed now. I'm like, I gotta burn some of this negative energy. Maybe that'll remove these sticky cords. I gotta
Maybe,
burn them,
yes,
Yeah.
I think
Sometimes
so.
the burning
cauterize them.
gone forever.
Yep, just like the tower, burning it down. Well,
Yes.
it's been so much fun spending time with you guys. You guys have so much knowledge, and thank you for reading both of our charts. We really
Yes,
appreciate
yes,
it.
thank
Gives
you.
us some, and hopefully people will reach out. Can you guys tell everybody where they can find you?
Go ahead, Yesbelt.
For me, the easiest place is my website, yesspiral.com. And on social media, I am Yes Spiral on Instagram, on TikTok, on Substack. And I'm also establishing a new, it's like a book club, but I'm calling it Moon Club so that we can do the practice outlined in New Moon Life Design together as a group.
Nice.
That is such a cool idea. I love
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
You're bringing it to life. Super
Yeah.
cool, super smart.
Yeah, very nice.
And people can find me at my website too, thetarotlady.com. That's, the best place to find me. But I'm also on social media. Generally, my handle is the Tarot Lady. I think there was one or two places where I didn't grab my handle. So if you see someone on TikTok as the Tarot Lady or YouTube as the Tarot Lady, that's not me. Just so
Okay.
y'all know.
Okay, well, perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for being with us. It's been just so much fun. You guys are
So,
always so
and
much
thank
fun
you
to
from
be
me
with.
too for that reading, and that was awesome. Very much
Yeah, and
It's
appreciate
if you ever
always
make it to
great.
Canada, you know where to look us up. You got a
Yeah.
Oh,
place.
yeah. And it's always great to connect with you both. I always have such a great time. You ask great questions. And again, your curiosity and your knowledge that you bring
Mhm.
to this podcast is also what makes it really special. So thank
Thank
you
you.
for creating this safe, wonderful space.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And
you.
yeah, we really appreciate it. And everybody else, we'll see you on our next one.
You bet you will. Thanks, girl.